Now, one thing you might have noticed when you were looking at these two sets of conditions is that we state for each one that the adults used in the older age group are independent of each other, and then here we state that the adults and the younger age group are also independent of each other. The problem went through great measures to make sure we knew actually that the adults were randomly selected. In fact, they state here that they use random telephone numbers, that they're stratified by region and sex. That just means that they split them by groups of region and sex to make sure that there's an equal number of men and women. So we definitely know that they were randomly selected for the older group and for the younger group. And then if we come down, when we're talking about 111 adults, remember, this is all the conditions for my older age group. So this 811 I'm getting from where it talks about my sample size for the older age group, which is right here. So we're going to talk about that sample size instead of just saying N. Since we have actually two N's for this problem, we're going to say that the sample size of the older age group is 811, and that is definitely less than or equal to 10% of all adults that are over 30 years old. I could also say the same thing for the younger age group. And why? 184 is definitely less than or equal to 10% of all adults that are under age 30. Now, like I was saying, the subscripts are very important, especially when we get to the success and failure condition. So here we have NO times P hat O. Now, what is P hat O? P hat O is the sample proportion of older people that snore. Why am I using this instead of just NP? Sometimes I just use P here. Well, the problem is that usually we would use P if it was given to us. PO would represent the population proportion for older people. PY would be the population proportion for younger people. The only population proportion I'm given here, it says one of the questions asked about snoring, of the 995 respondents, 37% reported that they snored. Okay, that's interesting, but even that has to do with a sample. So none of the percentages that were given in this problem refer to just the population. This percentage refers to this sample. This percentage refers to this sample. This percentage refers to this sample. Because none of the proportions are talking about the population, I have to use instead the sample proportion, which in this case is 39%. Now, I made a note here that because we're using P hat in this step, later in my problem when I do my mechanics, that means I'm going to be using the standard error instead of the standard deviation. That's important.